let's get started, and maybe some others will join us while we're in progress. So if you don't know me, I'm Corey Willie, the middle school associate principal, and maybe some of you were involved with some of our mindfulness work last year with Dr. Richards during the lockdown, and my co-host, or really the real host of the show today, is Lana Nahawi. She joined us for a few of those sessions, so we asked to have her back to lead some practice today and also a little bit of theory as well. Lana is very experienced with in the field of embodiment, and she works with meditation, and particularly female empowerment and embodiment. So she's got a great response the last time that we met as a community to partake in some mindfulness, and are ever and especially on health week, we think this was a great opportunity to invite her back and to have some time together to think about our own practice, to also position ourselves to be the best we can for our kids. So with that, I just wanted to turn over to Lana and have her introduce herself a little bit and get started today.
Thank you, and thank you all for joining. I know we have a difficult schedule. Everybody's really busy, so I appreciate your presence, and thank you so much for inviting me, Corey, to this. I'm always thrilled to present what I do because I'm very passionate about it. So I'm just going to share my presentation so that we can go through it together. All right. So the newsletter said that we are going to discuss how to recalibrate and reconnect with ourselves so that we are fueled and not on autopilot. And that's what embodied empowerment is about. So today's objective is looking at a different view of empowerment so that we can recalibrate ourselves, and it is the embodied view. Historically, we've had various beliefs on what empowerment entails. We can possibly imagine someone on a hierarchical position or some form of strength, certain beliefs and ideas that are basically all ideas. So we want to look at the embodied view, which is what is our personal view? How can we create, how can we redefine success, empowerment on our own terms? And by our own terms, how can we facilitate that? So we will also look at embodied practice. So half the presentation will be on empowerment and the other one will be on practice. So we've all been through COVID in the last 2 years. It's been a very challenging, uncertain 2 years. We want to recalibrate. We also have had deep existential questions on how to move authentically in life. Also, want to create tools for uncertainty and a different model for empowerment. So this is what the program will look like today. We'll cover theory. Half of it is going to be theory. What is embodied empowerment? What are the causes of disembodiment? The 4 pillars of embodiment. How can we practice to facilitate our embodiment? And how do we bring it all together towards the end? But first, my story. Yes, these are my personal photos. So I grew up here. I'm a woman born to the Palestinian diaspora. That's my father on the lower right end, and we grew up here in the UAE, living a very standard life. I went to school here. At the time, ASD was JAS, and it was always this aspirational school that I had wanted to be part of. And then I went to university. And I worked in all kinds of work, mostly with women, but in corporations, research, and freelance, small business, all forms of work. And then I got married, and I had kids, and I lived this linear life where I was just checking the boxes of what I thought life was meant to entail. But underneath that, there was this, feeling that I wasn't really fulfilled, and lurking beneath that there was low self-esteem, low self-confidence, a loss of purpose, not knowing what I want to do, feeling stuck, feeling like my vision was external. It was outwards, looking at what other people were doing, what other people were saying I should do, and less on the internal. And then one day my family broke apart and I experienced divorce, which was really devastating experience for me. So I went about the business of fixing myself. I went and worked with therapists, coaches, went on retreats, took a multitude of online courses, had spiritual teachers, did yoga, did all kinds of things to discover how to fix this situation, how to fix me, how to have more confidence, how to feel worthy, how to feel empowered, how to feel really joyous in life. And it was only until I reversed my gaze inside onto myself and not what the outside world was doing that I discovered that that's where my answers lied. From there, my life has been a work in progress. But I feel so much more alive in life. I got remarried. That's my husband on the right side, and then my ex-husband and my husband in the photo in the middle. We're all friends, and we have a very good relationship. Two of my kids are in ASD, and those are my nephew and my niece who are also in ASD. I teach women empowerment. I do retreats, classes, and I live between Zanzibar and Dubai. All of it is great, but there's, of course, it's, life is not just this, light. There's also the dark, and I also navigate being between two countries and everything that comes with having children and remarriage. So without that turning of the gaze inwards, I wouldn't have started feeling that I'm more aligned with who I am, what I want to do, the purpose of my life. Working with women really fills my heart and really feels like I'm on purpose. And it's just been a game changer for me. So I decided that this is something that I want to support women accessing, and not only women, people. Mostly my work is with women, but it is about accessing yourself. And how are we going to do that when our gaze is mostly on the outside? So having said that, what is embodiment? Embodiment is succinctly inhabiting the self. It is your original set point. It's your essence. It's difficult to describe in words because it is not a mental construct. So I might say that this person embodies strength, or this person might embody kindness. These are qualities or sensations or energies. And in the transformational and personal development world, when we say embodiment, it means embodying who you are, which brings us to the part of the embody. The self is within the body. So in order to access the self, we basically have to access what's residing within the body and inhabit the self, So it is, sorry, I think there's a message. Yeah, it's in the body, and we need to find ways of accessing ourself. What is embodied empowerment? It is leading with the body. Historically, Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am," because there was so much focus on the mind, the rational, as the set point of how life should be, the doing, the directional, the logical, the intellectual, discounting and demonizing the body. Consider sentences like, "Boys don't cry," or "Women are too emotional." We've demonized the rest of the body, and it created a mind-body split. But in fact, when we are making decisions, how do we make a decision? We make a decision with a combination of reason, as well as a sense, as well as an intuition. Sometimes when we make an intellectual decision and we go for it, like let's say we go for a job, but somehow we don't feel that was the right decision. It is our body informing us that we were not aligned with what we really wanted to do. Our entire experience is within the body. When you're with a friend, and you're connecting, that joy is within the body. When you're looking at a beautiful sunset, that wash of colors and peace washes over you, it's felt within the body. The sadness, the tears, everything is a bodily experience. So we want to kind of lead with the body now and focus our attention on the interplay between the internal and the external, and not just the external. So what is an embodied parent? I am not a parent expert, but we all have children in ASD, and that's why I have this and this little point. And what is embodiment about? Why embodiment? We want to feel our most authentic selves. We want to create our own definition of empowerment so that we are living in congruence with that, so that we are fueled, so we know our limitations, we know our capacity, we are in touch with that, we are contacting that, so that we are fueled. And when we are fueled in this way, we have more energy for life, more energy for our children, more of an authentic way of upbringing them, of raising them. And then we are modeling that to them because we want them to be embodied. We don't want their gaze to be solely external, especially when in school, peer influence is a really prevalent aspect. So we've seen that the self is what embodiment is. It's inhabiting your set point, your essence, your original set point, and inhabiting the self. That means that all of us are embodied because we do have a connection with our bodies. Sometimes when we're hungry, we are paying attention to that and we eat if we need to use the bathroom. But the truth is, just the way they say we're not using most of the capacity of our brains, we're also not using the full capacity of our whole body. In fact, we know this because a lot of people say they have a disconnected sense of self. Now, to be clear, embodiment is not existing. We're not existing on either binary of disembodied or embodied. We're always moving on that spectrum. But for the most part, a lot of us are, not inhabiting ourselves in the fullest way. We are stuck in autopilot. We do things that we don't want to do. We people please. We are exhausted in our culture. We are not always empowered. We're not always sure of what it is that we want. We're not even sure of our own answers. So there's another qualifier here. The qualifier is sensitivity. And sensitivity is a skill. How do you gain the sensitivity to access yourself, which is in your body? Now, it is not an impossible skill. It is a skill that is something we've either forgotten or have not cultivated enough. And it is the awareness, sensitivity is the awareness of the felt senses, the feelings of the subtle aspects of the self, because our self is subtle. It's not so forthright. It's somewhere in there in the nebulous, vague space. And then once you connect and commune with sensitivity, there are so many advantages that happen in your life. You connect to the flow of who you are. You're able to make decisions in congruence with who you are. You decrease your stress, your magnetism of everything that you want in your life. You're able to have the empathy that's required for empathetic work in the world. You're able to expand your ability to live with vitality and aliveness. You also expand your capacity to deal with the difficult emotions. So this skill is actually the skill of the body, the language of the body, because the language of the body, which is an encyclopedia of wisdom, is the internal felt senses. Now, before I get to that, I'll explain why the internal felt senses is the language of the bodies. And we'll look at the body and what it constitutes. When we say what is the body, it constitutes 4 bodies: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the energetic. The physical is bones, blood, tissue. The mental is the cognitive. The emotional is the body of drama and the heart. The energetic is your energy, high, low, and it means many other things to other people. But for the sake of embodiment, let's take a look at how these 4 bodies constitute the body. They don't exist one at a time. They're existing all together as one, but we're looking at them in categories right now so we can know how to hone in our sensitivity to each one. The physical, on the external, if I scratch my skin, I can feel it. On the internal, I can feel the deep ache in my neck. The mental, a thought. If I were to ask you right now and invite you to close your eyes and to think that somebody's about to whisper into your ear this sentence. You are wonderful. Just feel what is happening when I say that. You are wonderful. Now, some of you might have a resistance to this, and some of you might really feel it in your body in a beautiful way, but it comes with a texture. It doesn't come alone. The thought doesn't come alone. It comes with a sensation. The emotions, when we say anger or frustration or joy, my anger might be different than your anger. I experience anger as sweaty palms, heart palpitation, the sensation of heat, sharp feelings. Someone else might feel a constriction in their throat and a bunching up around their head. So we experience it differently. And actually, emotions are different than feelings. Emotions are umbrella labels that include a constellation of felt senses, sensations that differ from person to person. Energy. Just feel when you are expanded or contracted. Expansion can feel like openness, lightness. Contraction could feel heavy, tight. So each of our bodies includes different sensations. So this is the language of our body. The sensations, the subtle sensations are the language of our body. And our entire experience of life is felt within these 4 dimensions. The common thread throughout them is what we refer to as the internal felt senses. We have the external felt senses, but we also have the internal felt senses. And the internal felt senses is what we need sensitivity to acquaint ourselves with, so that we may access ourselves, so we may have better knowledge of who we are, so we can lead our lives from that space and express ourselves from that truth, from that honesty. The positive aspects of the internal felt senses is that your body informs you how to heal yourself rather than being an external thing where everything is, we seek advice outside of us. We go to medical doctors for everything rather than allowing our bodies to heal ourselves first. Our internal felt senses, it gives us our set point of where we are. It helps us with our decisions, empowerment, our truth. So great, we understand that there's an interplay between the internal and the external, and that the language of the body is those felt senses, and that's where our self is. That's why where our true empowerment is in discovering who we are. So why don't we go there naturally? Well, there is a cycle called the pain-shame cycle. Sometimes our felt senses don't feel so good because we're navigating an increasingly complex world. And we'll go into what we're navigating in the next slide, but I just want to take a look at the pain-shame cycle. So on the right-hand side, you see any experience from pain to pleasure. You may have it. Sometimes there's something that's so good that it hurts, that you don't want to, it's too good to be true and you're afraid of losing it. So you have an experience and then you unwelcome it, you reject it, you basically feel like that's an unwelcome part of yourself. Let's say something bad happens. You reject that it happens because the feelings, the sensations are really difficult to experience. So instead of allowing the sensations to flow the way they're meant to flow, because our sensations are not meant to be stuck, they end up in our body as tension. And you know that because a lot of us have tension in our necks, our shoulders, our lower backs. In fact, this happens in a way that is accumulated over years. So everything that we've rejected, everything that has hurt us, everything that we, are not welcoming in our lives gets stored in our body as frozen tension. When you store it in your body and you don't express it, for example, let's say somebody is angry and you're not allowed to express your anger. It gets stored as frozen tension and is unexpressed, but then That's where we go to shame, where we have something to hide, where you're not expressing why you're angry, with the truth of how you feel. We're told not to be angry or not to feel certain things, or to be culturally or societally respectable, or to contain ourselves. But that way, our truth is not expressed. Now, there is a shadow and a disempowered way of expressing anger, but there's an empowered way of expressing anger too. But when we suppress our feelings of joy, anger, frustration, fear, then we have something to hide. And this is where our lack of worthiness resides, in shame. Brené Brown, social worker and researcher, has done amazing work on shame and vulnerability. You can check out her talk on TED Talks, one of the most downloadable talks of all time. She talks a lot about this pain-shame cycle and how we exist in the world, wanting things, not being able to get to them, feeling shame about ourselves, always feeling shame that we haven't arrived at a certain place, shame of not succeeding, shame of not feeling strong enough, confident enough, good enough, smart enough, rich enough, whatever enough. So there's so many things that we feel like we're hiding in the world. Instead of experiencing whatever it is we're experiencing and liberating, welcoming these unwelcome sides of us, welcoming them as, yes, this is part of humanity. This is part of the human syndrome. This is part of the difficulties that we experience on this earth, welcoming them and liberating them and expressing them in healthy, empowered ways. We keep cycling and looping in our minds over, living from the neck up in our minds. Why can't we get there? Why can't we get there in this pain, shame cycle? So what is the reason for this pain, shame cycle? The short answer is socialization and habituation. Socialization means that we have internalized ways of existing in the world that have become a habit and almost natural to ourselves, but they are going against the flow of who we are. So when we suppress ourselves and when we increase frozen tension, that's the opposite of our flow, which is our essence self. And what are the ways in which we have suppressed ourselves? The political and economic systems, capitalism, for instance, is encouraging of production and consumption and production and more and more and more. And we feel like we have to stay busy and we never produce enough, or we never consume enough. Or cultural and societal norms, like what is getting to the top, or what is the hierarchical position that we need, or how to think, how to feel, how to act, how to dress, how to be respected, how to belong, how to fit in, so all these norms where people are telling us exactly how to be. We have our survival basic needs. Our economic system has become such a difficult system to navigate. Getting our basic needs, food, shelter, money, has created, this tension that we're unable to feel like we're in flow as we're running around trying to navigate the system in this world. And also our nervous system, it has a freeze response. We've all been frozen and stuck. We're trying to navigate this world in a way where our nervous system is on overdrive and fight, flight, or freeze. Usually in historic days, when a bear would come out at us, then we would activate the fight, flight response. But we also have a freeze response that has us in tension, trying to work on autopilot like robots so that we can survive in this world. We're doing what we're told to do, and sometimes we just feel like it's the opposite of our flow and who we are. So what happens to this frozen tension? It gets embedded like frozen bricks in layers and layers of our nervous system, actually. These are 5 layers of dissociation, we call them in the psychology world, that exist. And we have to work through these so that we can get to the tender truth and the essence of who we are. Armor is the shallowest, which is the defensiveness, or you don't know what you're talking about. Numbness is what we do so that we're not feeling the pain. We don't want to feel these sensations of overwhelm. We don't want to feel the sensations of exhaustion. So we numb ourselves out with sugar, Netflix, alcohol, other things. So we're getting our sensation from externally, because we feel unsafe and untrusting of our own sensations of overwhelm. Fire is the anger, frustration, rage. It is the level where we are angry about things and we suppress it. There's a disempowered state of anger and frustration and the fire layer, and there's an empowered one. And once you are able to access that, then you see underneath the tender truth, which is where vulnerability, sensitivity, heartache exists, which is what a lot of us are really avoiding and trying not to feel. But it is there, the doorway that gets us to truth, our essence self, where the felt senses are all flowing, and they are where we are allowed to have our hearts aching and broken, and it's through that we experience beauty. How many of us have had difficult experiences but been broken open because of it, whether it is a divorce, a death, an illness, failures? We always say we learn the most from that heartache, yet we're not allowing ourselves to go there, and we remain in frozen tension. So the thing is, when we remain in frozen tension, that diminishes our ability to feel vitality, because the sensation spectrum exists within our body. You dim down your ability to feel pain and you make yourself numb, then you're unable to feel joy and vitality, aliveness and fulfillment and pleasure in life, which a lot of us are seeking. So then how do we increase our capacity to handle these difficult emotions so that we don't shut down our sensitivity to the vitality that we're all seeking as well? How do we find the beauty in the ache as well? How do we do that? How do we become embodied? How do we go into ourselves? How do we trust ourselves that we can handle these sensations of overwhelm? How do we increase our engagement and our awe with life? There are 4 pillars of embodiment: called awareness, breath, movement, and sound. So you become more and more embodied the more you tune into these. And these are pillars that are part of the mindfulness movement, which is why we are here today. Awareness is the first pillar, and it's something that you can cultivate. And we're actually quite challenged with our awareness right now because we have so much stimulation that takes us outside of our bodies, so many distractions, technology. So it's something that you can cultivate. Breath, movement, and sound are all part of it. Now, using them all together at once makes you more and more embodied. But when we have lost that skill, we want to increase our capacity to improve and strengthen our awareness, be aware of our breath, move when we need to be, because movement opens up your body, helps release it, makes you more sensitive. And sound also increases your sensitivity. And the purpose of all of this is so that you can increase your sensitivity to yourself, to access your internal felt senses, so that you are more grounded in yourself and your being. So we are now going to move on to the practice part of this presentation. A word on practice. There are different ways that we can practice. Informal, formal. Informal is the way you make it practical. So it's not, because we are leading busy lives, so that you're not dedicating 2 hours of your day just to practice. How do you integrate it in your life? You can do micro practices throughout the days. In Islam, people pray 5 times a day to reconnect, recenter, reconnect with God. In embodiment, we do, it's the same thing for you to reconnect with yourself. Every time you're about to get into a new activity, you can do a micro check-in. Eyes closed is the fastest way to go inside. Multiple check-ins, silence. Daily integration of these will make you more and more tuned into yourself. And then you have formal practice, where we can do meditation, dance, all kinds of modalities, and there are a ton out there. So what are the cornerstones of formal is that it takes over, you decide on a certain number of days, you decide on a time. Sometimes some people do it at different times, some people do it at the same time exactly. Specific practice for practice purpose. So for example, now the objective is to resensitize yourself, reacquaint yourself with your sensitivity, reacquaint yourself with the felt senses, to learn about who you are in order to lead with the body, in order to express in an empowered way. So you want to sensitize and increase that skill. How do you do that? You can, at least for 7 days, practice skills, practice certain things, let's say for an hour a day, so that that learning becomes more and more natural to ourselves. And eventually we won't even need to do like a daily 1-hour practice, but we can integrate it instead. And we use the purpose practice for whatever it is that we're trying to navigate, a conflict, a decision. We use formal practice for purpose as well. Why practice? Well, for me, it is what keeps me sane. I feel with everything that's happening in the world, I need to come back to my center. I need to connect with who I am. I feel home when I connect with myself. And then the connection, like when I'm fueled and resourced, I can connect with the world better. And also for self-coaching, sometimes I have something to navigate, a decision, a confusion, something to liberate. I'm able to do that in practice, and it's so much more effective when you do it in an embodied way versus the looping monkey mind of the over-intellectual, over-rationalized, exhausting brain. So when you integrate the whole body, it's just so much quicker than going in loops in your mind in ways that may or may not be aligned with the essence of what you really want. It gives you clarity of what you really want. With time, the answers come quicker. So we're going to start with awareness, the first pillar. I am a teacher of Introduction to Meditation. There are several schools that practice just one form of meditation. One is mindfulness, there is transcendental. The school that I went to clubs all of them into 4 broad categories: present moment awareness, calm focus, energized body and mind, and transcendental. Transcendental is a big one, so I won't go into it today. We will just practice present moment awareness because that is the first pillar of embodiment, where we cultivate our awareness. So we'll go into like maybe 7 minutes of meditation right now. Anytime you deliberately want to alter your state of consciousness using your mind, body, and breath, that is meditation. It may look as like seated meditation, or you could be psyching yourself up before a presentation, you know, and that is altering your state of consciousness. So meditation doesn't need to be a seated practice. It is the deliberate alteration of your state using your mind, body, and breath. So I'm going to ask you now to get yourself comfortable, because we're going to explore 2 meditations in one. Anapana, which is basically returning to the breath. The principle is every time you get distracted, return to the breath. And then the second meditation will be but I'm merging them into one because of the purpose of time. The second one will be a body scan. So I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably wherever you are. Taking a breath. Feeling the support beneath you. Could be behind your back, under your buttocks. And close your eyes. Relax the face. Relax the jaw. Spine upright. Settle and relax. Now bring your attention to your breath. Breath flowing in to the nostrils. Breath flowing out. Breath flowing in. And breath flowing out. Allow the flow to be as it is. Observe the flow, the breath as it is. The breath may be shallow or long or deep. Allow the breath to flow as it is. If there are thoughts, let there be thoughts. Allow the breath to flow as it is. If there are sounds, let there be sounds. Allow the breath to flow as it is. If there are sensations, let there be sensations. Return to the breath. Allow the breath to flow as it is. Our attention can sometimes be like a floodlight. Let us narrow our attention to represent a laser beam, a narrow laser beam, drawing your attention all the way down to your left foot. Feel your foot and the sensations within your toes. Feel the ball of your foot, the sole, the side step. Feel if there's any tension or temperature. Moving up to the heel. Moving up to the ankle, feeling the curvature of the ankle and maybe feeling it in isolation from the rest of your foot. Feeling your shin, any sensations there, and moving your laser attention to the calf, up to the knee, feeling the rotation of the knee, moving up to the thigh, and now moving across and traveling back down to the right foot, feeling the toes, any sensations there, any coolness or heat or sweat, moving to the ball of the foot, the side step, the heel, the ankle, the shin, the calf, the knee, the thigh, the pelvis, feeling any tension anywhere in the body. If your mind wanders, draw it back to the sensations. Focus on the sensations of the body. To the lower back. If there's an ache there, be specific. What kind of pain or ache and where in the lower back? Feeling and observing the sensations. Moving forward to the abdomen, maybe feeling your clothes on your abdomen, your skin there, going up to the ribs, the chest, the upper back, down to your right shoulder, feeling the curvature of the shoulder and traveling down the elbow and down to the fingers and tracing back up to the shoulder. Now looking at your whole arm as a whole on the right side, traveling across the chest onto the curvature of the left shoulder. And tracing back down to the elbow, onto the fingers. On your way back up, feel the difference of temperature between the back of your hand and palm. And any sensations that are there, traveling up, back to the shoulder, up the neck, feeling the bones, muscles, the tension level, going around to the front of the neck. Now up to the head, to the chin, the lips, the teeth, the tongue, the roof of your mouth, and up to your nose, any sensations there, and down to the sides of your nose, onto your cheeks, onto the eyes themselves and around the eyes, the forehead, the head between the ears, sensing if there's anything between the ears inside your head. And now expanding your attention to go back down the body in more of a flood-like manner. So the head, the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the abdomen, the hips, the thigh, the legs down to the foot and the whole body. Feeling the state that you are in, any sensations there. You can now wiggle your fingers and toes and feel that you're arriving back in the space. And whenever you're ready, gently open your eyes. So that is two meditations in one. One is every time your mind wanders, you return to the breath. This is a way of cultivating your awareness by bringing it back to focus. And then the other one will help you in like starting to observe the sensations of your body and sensitizing to that. And now we have breath, which is an important part of our of embodiment. Breath is usually an autonomic system, which means that it happens automatically without us even thinking about it. But science has uncovered that when you control your breath or observe your breath, you can achieve a lot within your body because it affects so many different systems, from your respiration to your immunity system to your heart rate to your digestion, a whole bunch of things. And the nervous system is made of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic is our fight flight, like a bear coming out at you, and it can make you go into fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. We need both. The sympathetic for the our ability to start our day with energy, and also to survive in the event of a crisis, or not a bear, but modern day bears and activity like that. And parasympathetic is another very crucial part, which is our rest and digest system. Now, the issue is with our modern day living and lifestyle, we've learned how to breathe in a way that keeps us in fight or flight in our sympathetic nervous system. So we breathe vertically from our chest or neck and shoulders, kind of like this all day long. When we're breathing like that, we have a nerve called the vagus nerve that is kind of on the top of the head and wanders through the body. It's called the wandering nerve, and it gets signals from the body so that the brain can react to what it's receiving as signals. So when it receives a signal that we're shallow breathing, it thinks we're in fight or flight, and we exist like that most of the day. So you might be in traffic, and the traffic in itself, it keeps you in that cortisol producing, stress producing state. Why is vertically breathing not appropriate? It's anatomically incongruent. This is where the smallest bits of the lungs are, so it doesn't oxygenate the rest of the body. And it's also biomechanically unsound. So when you are breathing from here, you're not allowing the host of functions that your organs works on to function properly. So it just stresses you out and stresses the muscles in the neck and the shoulders, and is not how we're meant to breathe. We're meant to breathe from the diaphragm. Now, I want you to imagine, which is like a belly up, I want you to imagine this vegetable steamer, which is kind of like the size of a mini pizza that exists within you as a diaphragm. We're not really aware of the diaphragm because we never see that, depicted well enough. We always see the big, beautiful lungs in diagrams, but it is actually like a big muscle that needs to work. And when we inhale, it expands like this. And when we exhale, it narrows. Inhale, it expands. Exhale, it narrows. It gets that big and small. And what's amazing is that mechanically, you've got the heart on the top, the digestive system and other organs on the bottom, the connection to the lower back. And when we're not oxygenating the lower part of our body, when we don't breathe with that, we don't oxygenate the lower part. And also, when it does this action, it's almost like performing some kind of gentle massage on the organs with the heart on top and the organs on the bottom. So we need to unlock the muscular corset around here so that there can be flexibility of the diaphragm to perform its function. And when we breathe, it's 360. It's not just from one place. So today I'll just teach you rock and roll, which is the most basic. You can do it while you're sitting. You just sit here. This is where the diaphragm is, and you inhale, going forward, exhale, and release everything in. So inhale. Try and feel that your belly is expanding on the inhale and narrowing on the exhale, releasing everything out. And imagine that the whole diaphragm is functioning 360 on the sides and the back. Place your hands on the side. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more times. Going. So what we want to do is unlock the muscular corset so that we can give the diaphragm of space to inhale and exhale. And then you want to try breathing in all directions around you. So when you inhale and make side intercostal stretches, so you inhale and then exhale on the side, then you're allowing the diaphragm to breathe from the side. When you do cat, cow, and yoga, you exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So you can do that for the spine, the front and back. And you can do twists and breathe in that way. Always inhale, expanding, and exhale, narrowing. You can place your hand on the belly for the first phase of this so that you can start getting that awareness of breathing from your diaphragm. There is a sheet that Corey will email whoever requests. You've got a whole list of breathing techniques to help you unlock your diaphragm so that it can breathe in the proper way. Now, within different kinds of meditation, you also have energized body and mind, which means you can breathe in a way and bring your attention to a dynamic way of being. So your attention is not just when you're sitting and meditating, but it also can be with dynamism. There are 2 breathworks I'll teach today that can provide different purposes. One is before you start a project, or if you want to be balanced, you can do alternate nostril breathing. So this is performed in yoga, and they call it Anapana as well. Bring your thumb and your middle finger and your ring finger to your nose. And we will block the right nostril. We'll take an inhale, block the right nostril, exhale from the left. Keep your finger there and inhale from the same nostril, and then block with your middle and ring finger and exhale from the other one and inhale. So let's start. Inhale, block the right nostril, exhale, inhale from the same nostril, block this nostril, exhale from the right, inhale, block the right nostril, inhale from the left, exhale from the same nostril, block it, inhale, exhale from the right, inhale from the same nostril, block the right nostril, exhale from the left nostril, inhale from the same, block the left nostril, and exhale from the right, inhale from the right nostril. Do that like for 3-4 more rounds. This is great before a project because it balances the right and left brain hemispheres so that you are more balanced and activating both hemispheres for creativity, for focus, for anything like that. The next one is exhale pulsations. This one brings you into the sympathetic nervous system, which can help you ready for the day. What you do is you place your finger in front of you. Please notice all the states when you're practicing that you're in. So now the present moment awareness brought us some calm, some attention, some focus, and we feel this peace with our presence. The rock and roll expands our diaphragm. Just feel what's happening. The alternate nostril brings us balance. Exhale pulsations can enliven and energize you. So imagine, place a finger in front of you and try and blow at it like you're blowing at a candle. And what you're going to do is you're going to thrust your belly inwards on the exhale. So it will look like this. So why don't you guys start going at it with me? And place your hands on your knees and just notice the sensations and how it enlivens you. We move on now to movement. Movement can be instructional, yoga, or the gym, repetitions. Non-linear movement is like dance, or movements that are slower, so that you can increase your attention inwards, increase your sensitivity. The best form of movement is when you combine your attention, your breath, and your movement. Some people feel that when they're doing Tai Chi, and although there is instruction to that, there's this feeling of slowness that brings you in and connection with yourself. Also dance in its various forms that is not choreographed, not instructional, but the way your body wants to move. So moving from within to without. there's other forms of getting embodied movement into your practice, and that's release. So let's stand up and practice shaking. And then we will be coming to close to an end. So I'm just shaking my right hand. I don't know if you can see me properly on the side and small, but I'm shaking my right hand. Imagine a deer in the grasslands that is running for its life from a lion that's about to eat him. It manages to get away. Instead of sulking about it for the rest of its life, it shakes. It shakes. That is the natural way the animal kingdom releases its tension, and it's been discovered that you do that with post-traumatic stress as well. If you place both hands next to each other, feel how the right feels compared to the left. One is enlivened and the other one is flat. So shake your left hand so that we can balance out the shake. And now shake your right foot. Shake your right foot. Stand on your right leg and shake your left foot. Now move your heels up and down. Add some air into them like you're a football player running in your place. Shake your knees. Your hips. You can smile and laugh when you're doing this. There's so much tension that's stuck in our hips. Shake it all off, release. And then your shoulders, forward and backwards. Being sensitive to whatever aches you have in your body and being gentle if you have a problem somewhere. Up and down. Adding breath. Feeling that release, adding some more movement by shaking your wrists with your shoulders and your knees. And inhale and bring your back hands down, circling back down. One more time, inhale. And just noticing the sensations that you're feeling in your body with that energizing and enlivening practice that is supported to release tension and any stuck, frozen energy there. Corey?
I think our time's about coming to an end. I was just laughing because some people gave me some odd looks as they passed my office as I was doing that last exercise. But I just wanted to really thank you, Lana, for leading us through that. You know, we aim to be a mindful community, and it's an important, as you mentioned, component of parenting and all of our work with kids.
Thank you, Corey.
I did want to mention.
If anybody wants to stay on, do you think there's a way that I can stay on? Because there's just like 5 more minutes.
That's fine, and people could enter any questions through the Q&A function. I have another meeting I need to go to, but I can leave the Zoom open. And I just wanted to mention to everyone that the document that you mentioned is in the chat. So if they want to click in, they should be able to access that and be able to do that in the chat. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to sign off, but I will keep the Zoom open for a few more minutes if anyone cares to join. So thank you, Lana. We'll have to do it again. We'll probably do 2 more sessions in the second semester. So look forward to that.
Focus on breathing and on meditation solely in the next 2.
That would be great. Yep. Thank you for your time. Yep. Thank you, everyone.